Hi, everyone. Jeff Lee here, Program Director of TMASF Connects. I'll once again be joined by Jen Pollard, our Chief Operating Officer, and Shirley Lin, our Marketing Associate. Today, we are continuing our series of informational interviews with Dale Roberts, founder of Centarus. As a disclaimer, please note that Centarus is a partner and the IT team of TMASF Connects. This week's topic is on suspicious calls, emails, and messages. We recently finished a series on phishing and job scams, and hopefully today's topic will highlight phishing and security when you're on the job. Jumping right in, Dale. What are housekeeping rules when checking for suspicious and potentially phishing and spam calls and emails?
Yeah, good question, Jeff. So generally, most of that protection and prevention is going to be on the server side. So there are some various things you can do. The first thing you really want to do in looking at for like a phishing email is look at the message itself. So look at the context, look at the grammar, especially if it includes a link or some type of PDF, any attachment you can click on. Ask yourself, was this an email I'm expecting? You corresponding with somebody over email, or is it out of the blue? A solicitation. Password resets are a pretty common tactic. So keep an eye out for all those things. There are also things your IT support firm or your MSP can look at and lock down in terms of parameters from the mail server side, or if you're on 365 or Google Workplace, which most people are, you can go in there and lock down what they call an SPF record and how it translates or how it may be spoofed. Something called a DKIM. I don't want to get too technical, but there are some things you could do on the mail server side. And I think the last thing I just want to mention that's huge is training, just general training for end users. So we may have touched on it briefly last time. There's some services out there. A common service from a lot of MSPs these days is we do it. We do mock email phishing campaigns. We're actually phishing TMASF right now. So well, I shouldn't have warned you, but what we did just say it's an educational tactic. So we see who's clicking on what, who may need some more assistance or training. But in addition to that, it's important to, I also mentioned, I think last episode was the dark web monitoring, because a lot of how email may be captured or spoofed, or how that whole strategy may come about is it's a compilation of things. So, yeah.
Cool. So Dale, I have a question.
Sure.
Based on this, so with the prevalence of spam calls, messages and emails, if my iPhone is linked to Outlook, and I think quite a bit of people have their company servers, is my personal and company data documents, is that susceptible to, some type of infiltration?
Yeah, it's a good question. So you can think of this day and age, you can think of your phone or your iPad or your tablet as what they call a node. So meaning like a PC, or in the IoT world, Internet of Things, these days it can be the refrigerator, as I mentioned last time, or the fire alarm, or the video camera outside, wireless access points. Those are all nodes. They can all be infiltrated, including your phone. So however, on the flip side, it also depends on how you're managing your security, how you're accessing information. For example, if you're just using your phone for something like two-factor authentication, meaning having like Google Authenticator, which is pretty common. A lot of people will connect to their VPN or the remote desktop and authenticate with the 2FA solution. But I think more along your question, Jen, you're wondering if I'm checking my email on my phone or maybe accessing my files via Dropbox. Absolutely. So it is susceptible. You should have protection on your phone, whether it be an antivirus solution or like an EDR type solution. There's a bunch of various softwares out there these days, but you want to ask how. What am I doing with this device? What type of data am I accessing? How is it being accessed? Am I downloading it on the phone? Is it staying on my phone? What's my security look like on my phone? Do I have a password? Do I just have a swipe? So you do want to treat it like a device. With that said, one of the biggest deterrents you can put into place is something called an MDM policy, mobile device management. So you can actually install software to, if your phone's stolen, to wipe your phone once it has a signal again. You could even set up a geofence, like what's happening, true story, right now in China with the Olympics going on and the vaccine passport. If there's tracking going on for people within certain parameters, meaning if you leave a certain area, such as your house or city or neighborhood, you can use MDM software to take an action. It can wipe a device, it can trigger a script, it can do anything possible. So the phone is absolutely a vulnerable piece of technology, and it should be protected and sought after. Hope that's my long-winded answer. Hopefully that answered your question, Jen.
Yeah, it did. Thank you.
Sure, you bet.
And Dale, so I want to ask, there are times where we sign up for email listing. There are times where we don't want to sign up, but when we subscribe, we either get resubscribed and we get even more email marketing from these companies. So is there a way where we could stop them from emailing us and resubscribing us?
Yeah, that's a good question. I know that's a challenge for a lot of, just mail in general, mail management. Mm-hmm. I think it's the CAN-SPAM Act of 2003 actually does require all vendors or all solicitors to include an unsubscribe link. Those should work. Those should work. So that's actually legislation that's put into place to force people to use those. However, back to what I was mentioning earlier, a lot of people use anti-spam solutions or third-party providers. One we're a fan of is one called Proofpoint. There's another one called Mimecast. There's also built-in anti-spam parameters and settings for 365 and Google Workplace. So it's really a combination of all the above, I think. You can literally blacklist every email if you want and only open up, which you've probably seen. Some people just are done with it, and they scrap their mailbox and say, if you want to communicate with me, you need to reach out and go through a little, two-way process to put you on my white list, which means your email can come through. So,
wow.
Yeah, I know. And for some people who are just getting bombarded or who manage multiple mailboxes, meaning like 3 or more, it kind of makes sense. As long as you let everybody know, that's the biggest strategy in that type of move.
Wow, thank you.
You bet. I know, maybe not the answer you were looking for, but mail is very, it's constantly changing how mail is routed, how things are triggered as spams. You can have a spam filter on a low setting or very, very high, but mail management's a tricky thing. It's getting more and more challenging for sure.
Yeah, and it seems like there's, fortunately, there are a lot of programs out right now to help us either filter through that. Yep. And one that really caught my attention was mobile device security programs. Mm-hmm. So TMASF will definitely research on that a little bit more and let everyone know which ones we and Centarus recommends. We'll be in touch with Dale on that and get more information to everyone out there. And I want to thank you for your time today, Dale. And I think that wraps it up for today's session. So we'll see you next time.
All right, Jeff. Take care. Thanks, Jen. Thanks, Shirley.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.